Hey YouTube, I think the best way to start this video on painting is probably with a tape measure. After a bit of thought, there's probably so many little bits and pieces that I'm going to add on afterwards that I really should knock a lot of more of the woodwork out of the road before I start trying to moving on to painting, because I think I'm just going to be retouching stuff up. I'm going to be chopping stuff, you know, things like well, I could trim that beforehand, but I mean just things like that, like trimming off the edges, those sorts of things. Better off that I do the drawers first. I have no idea how I'm going to do them yet. Got a rough idea, but I have no set idea. I think I'll do those first, then we'll take a look at the painting. So, time to do some measuring and getting on with it. So I figured the best way to do this is to model up the frame, or just do a part of the frame just to get a bit of an idea of dimensions. Now I know between these two steel uprights I've got 620 millimeters, and the bracket that goes on either side, so the bar will be on this side, so I'll call that 12 millimeters, just give myself a little bit of wiggle room. So I need to allow for 12 millimeters on the left side, 12 millimeters on the right side. The hole is in the center of the bar. The bar is 20 mil, so that means from the center of the hole to the bottom of the bar is 10 mil. This needs to be 5 mil below the bar. So if I allow for that, I shouldn't run into any problems. The drawer's going to sit on top of here, so that should be the lowest point that I need to concern myself with. So I think that's probably all I need to get started. So I sent my brother a text message last night, because he's a cabinet maker and why not ask someone who knows. And I asked him how thick the bottom was meant to be, and he said there was 16 millimeters. And I said, that can't be right. They were like about 3 or 4 millimeters from what I remember. And he said, no, that was like 20 years ago. So he said that the industry standard was 16 millimeter now. So I was originally planning on using 9 millimeter for the sides and probably using something like about 4 millimeter for the bottom, but since he said the bottom had increased so much, I've upped the size to 16 millimeters and I've gone with a 19 millimeter bottom. So hopefully that should, well, the stuff I'm putting in there is not going to be that heavy. It's only going to be cutters, light tools, so that should be more than enough to do the job. So now, as far as the fit goes, obviously these are two end pieces, so they don't fit together. Well, they're not meant to be lined up anyway. Pretty close fit there. I probably need to knock that in with a hammer, or maybe run a file over. It's just a tiny little bit out. Pretty decent. So this is my test run. And hopefully, if all this works out well, these will be the first drawer tests for when I build the kitchen in the house. So just mounting the bracket on the bottom here, just to have a bit of a look. I think I'm probably a better choice going with the thicker material, because it gives me a little bit more room for screws to go in. As far as alignment's concerned, can't really complain that the thing's flush. If I can, it's perfect. Cannot feel any variation there at all. And Of course, I've got them joined via the slot, so you can't ask for much more than that. Okay, so just doing a bit of a quick measure on the ends here to see what they turned out like. 10.1, just over 10, 10.04, 10.0, 10, 10.8, yeah, just over 10. So that's worked out well, although when I measure in here, I'm a little bit short in terms of this direction, so I think it's probably a slight backlash issue here somewhere, but that's no big deal because I can although I'm probably not taking very accurate measurements here, but I can account for that on the front and the back piece by just making them slightly shorter, so I still can make them a nice fit without wrecking the MDF trying to get them in. So I will have to work on the machine at a later date to get rid of some of the back, but for now, that's fine.